All right, everybody, thank you all for being here today to this fine presentation on Camp Patterson, which I just kind of titled Stories from Around the Campfire, because that is such a part of the experience that people get when they participate at Kiwanis Camp Patterson out on Lake Washington. Unfortunately, Al and Joanne Starkey were not able to join us physically today. We do have a clip of an interview that I did with them earlier this year, so we will be sharing that. But I would like to introduce two members of the Kiwanis Club who are very involved in both the daily operation of the camp and also in the fundraising that's going on right now for some expansion that's planned later this year and into next year. In the meantime, I will step aside, and we've got Shannon Sinning is in blue, the male Shannon, and we've got Shannon Gullickson in the other Shannon position, so I will let them go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to not only the people that are on the call right now, but those who will be watching later. We're really passionate volunteers of Camp Patterson and have become really more passionate as the last many months and years have gone on, when we really see the value that that camp offers our community and the residents and youth of our regional community. And so Shannon and I are both volunteers. And we just are happy to be able to talk to you about the camp. I think one thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start show you our website, and I got to figure out how to share my screen here. There you go. Are you seeing our beautiful drone footage?
There you start. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. All right. So we're really thrilled to be able to create a new logo and a new website this year for Kiwanis Camp Patterson. And we've got some really new volunteers, and I'll go a little bit over the history of the camp and the volunteer history also. But we're really invigorated this year and got some fun things on the horizon. As you can see, the drone footage shows the camp. It has several different cabins that sleep 10 people each, yep, as well as a dining hall with a storm shelter below it. And it has some other cabins for the administrators of the different camps, and also a shower and bathroom facility. Another thing that I'm just going to scroll down a little bit is that there are a lot of amenities out at the camp. There's some softball and baseball field, an archery range, a volleyball court and basketball court. Of course, the sand beachfront and canoes and kayaks, as well as a pontoon and rescue boat. And again, those facilities, the cabins, the dining hall, and also the campfire ring, which is a really big part of camp. And it's really neat to know that children who attend camp now do many of the same things that children who attended camp 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more years ago do, and that's one of the things that we really are proud of. So today we're going to talk about three different things with camp. We're going to talk a little bit about the past of Kiwanis Camp Patterson. We're also going to talk to you about things that we're doing this summer. We do not have campers there because of COVID-19, but Shannon and a bunch of other people are coordinating some great work out there. We're taking advantage of the situation to do a lot of work and renovations at the camp. And then we're going to talk to you about the future of the camp, our plans for the future, and of course, yes, we do have a capital campaign that's underway to help fund those plans. So thank you very much again for joining. I'm going to switch to our slideshow right now, again, for the camp. And this is the new logo that we had created, and I think it really depicts the camp very well. It's got, of course, nature and the trees. It's got the lake on Lake Washington, so you see the water, and also the canoe, because of course lake recreation is a really big part of being on a lakeside camp. Well, Kiwanis Camp Patterson is located in Sear County, and you can see a map there. It is on Lake Washington, and so it's on the east side of the lake, and it's really a beautiful setting. The rest of the lake is developed primarily in residential housing, and so it's a really unique thing to have a camp.
Say, Shannon?
Yeah.
I'm still seeing the website. I don't know if other people are seeing the slideshow.
thanks for bringing that up. I'm sorry. Again, new share probably. There we go. Thank you for bearing with us. Can you see it now?
There we go.
Yeah.
That was the logo I was just talking about.
Okay.
Thank you for mentioning that. And then again, this is a map showing the location of Kiwanis Camp Patterson in LeSueur County on Lake Washington. The camp was established in 1927 by an initial gift of land from H.A. Patterson, and he gave that gift to the Mankato Kiwanis Club. I can't remember the exact number of acres, but there was an initial parcel, and then 2 additional parcels were either gifted or purchased. And at that time, Lake Washington really had a lot of cabins, I think, from families in this area. They had cabins on the lake, as well as there were some other campgrounds and some other facilities on the camp. But it was pretty rustic out there, and it was definitely not as developed as it is today. And all we have to go on really is that the camp was created to serve disadvantaged youth. So there wasn't really a description of what that meant, but obviously it probably meant youth that had limited financial abilities to have access to a camp or to lakeside recreation and activities. And since then, it's grown to 19.2 acres, so 3 different parcels on the lake. Camp Patterson, Inc. is actually the ownership group of the camp. It's a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization, and I am the president of Camp Patterson, Inc. You do need to be a Kiwanis Club member to be involved in some of the leadership roles at camp, and so I've been a member of our Mankato Downtown Kiwanis Club for 23 years, and I've probably been involved in Camp Patterson, Inc. for about 10 years or so.
And to be on the Camp Patterson Inc. board, the 501c3, you have to be a past club president, which Shannon was president in, I don't know what year, but
many years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, maybe. So.
And again, that's really a technicality for our tax-free status, as well as charitable gifts that we can receive. And the group, again, is independent of the Kiwanis Club technically when it comes to owning the camp. But it is operated by the Camp Patterson Committee of Mankato Kiwanis Club, and Shannon is the co-chair of that committee. So the day-to-day work, whether it be leasing the camp to different organizations or maintaining that camp, is that committee is responsible for. And this number I really find interesting. It serves over 2,600 youth campers each year. That's a lot of kids, considering really the camp season is about 10 to 12 weeks maximum, June, July, and August. But the first couple of weeks of June are usually pretty limited because some kids are still in school. And the last couple of weeks of August are also limited because a lot of the counselors for these camps are college students. And the universities and colleges, they start much sooner than the elementary and junior highs do. So that's the thing that we are faced with, is we do not have an unlimited amount of weeks that we can offer. Shannon, do you want to talk a little bit about the organizations that, we own the camp, but we do not run any camps, and that's a unique thing too with camps.
Right, in the state of Minnesota, Shannon's research is for some grants and things. It's very unusual to have a camp facility like we do, run by a nonprofit, that we aren't actually the ones running the camps. We're just taking care of the facility and we're leasing it out for different camps and groups, youth groups. So our biggest users are a camp called Celebrate Me, which actually started down in the Maple River area where I grew up. Actually started, it's for 13-year-olds or kids that are going into from 6th to 7th grade, and it started the year after I turned that age, so I didn't know that at the time. They take 4 weeks of the schedule. The YMCA has been out there for a long time. They take 3 weeks of our schedule. And then Camp Shiloh is a church camp. They're out there for 2 weeks, kind of around the 4th of July typically. And then Royal Family Kids is another group from St. Peter. They're out there early June. And then we have some smaller groups like the Wasika 5th graders. 5th graders or 3rd graders?
I think it's 3rd graders.
3rd graders. 3rd graders have been going out there for
years,
30 years probably. Yeah. And we have some Kiwanis college groups that go out there, high school groups, middle school groups. We've got, I'm trying to think what else. Mayo Clinic.
Camp Oz is through the Mayo Clinic, and that's for children who have lost a loved one, and so that's kind of a bereavement.
And we talked a little bit before all of you got on about Campfire girls used to be out there decades ago. We've had 4-H clubs that have been out there in the past. lots of different things. It's a very unique camp, and what we kind of pride ourselves on is it's got so much diversity with so many different types of camps. That's what we'd love to continue to happen. So, go ahead.
So again, the camps can provide the programming. If we do not have any control over their programming, we just provide the facility, the sleeping beds, the dining hall, the kitchen, and they bring their own staff and their own programming and supplies. Again, that's an aerial of Camp Patterson. You can see right down here, there is a lot of nature area. That's kind of a lower swampy area. And so that is reserved for hiking trails. And I know this year they're working on, a lot of them were overgrown over the years and hadn't been used a lot. So maybe Shannon will talk more about that. But you'll see over here, this is where the baseball softball field is, and the volleyball and basketball courts. The restroom and shower facility is here. There are 10 cabins that sleep 10 people, as well as some other cabins that you don't see here, the dining hall and the beach. And then also their caretaker house is right in this area. And a little known fact, I guess, up here, sorry.
Yep.
Little known fact is that house was one of the houses that Mayo needed to clear out when actually at the time of the annual hospital that was moved onto this property. And so that was a neat way to repurpose a home there. So longtime caretakers, Al and Joanne Starkey, just retired this spring. And some of you may know Al and Joanne. They took care of the camp for at least 39 years. 39.
They were one short of 40.
And we're going to hear from them a little bit, but they're very, very proud of that camp. And, a lot of people along Lake Washington in the area know the Starkeys. And we're thrilled that they took care of the camp as well as they did, as long as they did. And we still see them out at camp, especially Al. He goes out almost every day. Because the good news is Al and Joanne's son, Nate Starkey, and his wife, Missy, and their family are now the caretakers. And so they know the camp really well. The kids are thrilled to be out there. It is so fun to talk to them. I think that they're just completely in heaven this summer. And they have not only been playing out at the camp, but they have been working really, really hard to help. They are taking a big ownership in the camp. And we're really thrilled that the Starkey legacy is continuing out at Camp Patterson. So you've seen Shannon, he's here, but his co-chair is Matt Carney. And so they just took over their responsibilities recently. They took over from longtime chair Dave Cowan. And Dave is pretty camera shy, so I couldn't find a picture of him. But he took care of the camp for how many years?
Between 20 and 30, I'm not sure.
A long time.
Say,
so he was the committee chair, and he really did a lot of work out at camp and was able to work with a lot of students. He works at Minnesota State University, and so he was able to secure a lot of students to come help over the years at the camp.
And in that picture, I look pretty small, but actually Matt's about 6'6" or 6'7". So just, I don't want to look, everyone think I'm that short, so.
So you may see these guys out at camp. And so here's a little history. I have some pictures of the Campfire girls. The Blue Earth County Historical Society actually had them. And they did an article recently in their newsletter about the Campfire girls. And a big part of that article was about how the Campfire girls enjoyed having time out at Camp Patterson. So even though the camp is located in Le Sueur County, the Blue Earth County Historical Society has been able to provide us with some information. And it's really interesting for me because my grandma attended Kiwanis Camp Patterson as a Campfire girl. My mom attended it. My kids attended it. It was YMCA camp that they attended. And I was a Campfire girl, but I didn't attend because during that time they owned a camp out in Nicollet County on Highway 13, right above 7 Mile Creek. And it was called Camp Tanawaha. And we had some good times there, but it was only like a 1 or 2 night camp from what I remember. And we camped in tents. They did have one building for the dining hall and an outhouse. I remember that fondly. And so I never got the lake experience. So it's ironic that I'm as involved as I am in the camp, but that I had 3 generations of my family attended camp out there. So these are some really neat pictures of the Campfire girls out at camp. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to move it so quick. I know they learned to swim at camp. There was a lot of different outdoors types of skills that were taught. And when I was reading through some articles, Mike Lagerquist provided me with some newspaper articles from the 30s, 40s, 50s. The Campfire Girls and the Boy Scouts, I think at the time, were the primary users of the camp. And I know Campfire Girls no longer exist. And so the neat thing is that since it isn't a camp that serves one group, we can adapt our camp to whatever groups during the time are having camps, are needing a facility like that. So we have seen different groups. I know 4-H used to participate. They're not right now. But again, we're full. We have more campers that want to attend the camp than can. And so again, we've been adapting and offering the camp to different groups.
And for example, 4-H was at our camp for probably a decade, and they actually reached out to me this spring before we decided to close it, asking if there were weeks available, which we don't have right now. But we always get requests for more weeks from lots of different places. So there's a huge demand out there, huge demand from different camps. So,
you know, one of the reasons why there is a demand is there were more camps, I believe, in the past, but really Lake Shore is very valuable. And some organizations have chosen to sell the different camps that they've had versus maintain them, just because it's very expensive and a lot of work. That's one of the things that we have chosen not to do. But again, that makes us unique. I don't believe that there are any other youth camps in southern Minnesota that are a lakeside youth camp. With the only other youth camps that I'm aware of are usually sports camps, and they usually are overnight in the dorms at different colleges and universities. So again, that's why there's a big demand. Northern Minnesota has a few more, but I still don't think there is an organization like us that rents it to other organizations to do their programming. I think most of the time they do the programming. It's the same programming all summer long. So archery, out again, Campfire Girls, and roasting marshmallows. And if you look at these pictures, they're black and white, but the same picture could be taken with campers now. Marshmallows, campfire, archery, same activities. You won't see a cell phone in any of the kids' hands at camp in current day. So there's the entry. I really get a great feeling. I know when I drive into camp, it's like you go back in time a little bit to a simpler time when you drive into the camp. And here's some current day pictures, or more current day. This is from the YMCA camp. And I think the other pictures I'm showing are of Celebrate Me. So that's the organization that Shannon was talking about. Smiling faces, skits, arts and crafts, self-esteem building activities. Celebrate Me is very, very big into self-esteem building. It is really a challenging time for kids between 6th and 7th grade, or in general at that time of their life. And so that's one of the things that makes Camp Celebrate Me so special, is it really gets kids off on the right foot with believing in themselves. And it's really fun, the camp camaraderie that they have. You can see this camp has their own little decorations, or this cabin. It's fun that they have their own identity when they have these 10-person cabins. Work out really nice. And beautiful sunset picture of the camp. I think there are 2 actually swimming platforms that are out there, and a dock for fishing. And again, we have a pontoon, we have kayaks, we have canoes. Great opportunity for kids. The next thing that I would like to do is a new share, I'm hoping here. And I'm going to play a video of the Starkeys. I can find it. Here. Sorry. Wrong clicking. Going back to sharing my screen. There we go.
I believe this was in February when I did this. I can't say that for sure, but it was pre-COVID.
And so you went out, I know you've been really good at you're a great person who documents and archives things. And so you went out and talked to the Starkeys because they were nearing the end of their term or time as caretakers. Is that kind of the reason why you went out there, Mike?
Yeah, because I really wanted to capture them in their habitat. This was at their home, and what you can't see is that they were more than halfway complete in the moving out. So we had to get an angle that didn't show any of the boxes that were piled there. But they were very open to talking. They had a few things that they didn't want to share, but those are not included in this 10-minute cutting.
All right, here goes.
White wooden cabins with very heavy shutters. The dining hall that is sitting here now did not exist. There was a very old building standing there. And there was the infirmary was a little dilapidated cottage or little cabin next to the administration building.
Sure.
And of course, this place didn't exist. There was a little shack here. We did not have two docks. There was just that one metal dock, a very, very heavy dock. We had to build a kind of a lean-to right across from where we're sitting. That was, I think it used to be a 50 at one time, maybe a six-seater.
Okay.
And we used it to put tools in. No, it was a little run down and in need of some TLC. And we began just running this by the seat of our pants. We had very little training, but we soon learned mowing a lot of lawns. In the meantime, I was pregnant with our third child, who was born here. This is the only home he's known. But somehow we did it. It was the long days, loved it. We met the most wonderful people. The groups that were coming in over the years became like family to us. It was like a family reunion almost every week. We would turn over the groups. It was, after the first summer, it was a relief to shut the place down and take a breath. But I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was here all the time. It worked out very well for our schedules. And as the kids grew, we gained helpers and little workers. They were like farm kids. Yeah. And I think it served them well in learning some good work ethic. And they were just really happy to live here. This is a paradise for a kid, you know, big and little. Yeah.
And Al, what was your life like? What was your, because it sounds like you were pretty much the worker bee, or
Well, yeah, not
all year round.
totally, because I worked full time.
Oh,
I not to begin with. Well, I did basically, but I had other, because we'd have never survived economically. I had to work, besides what was right here. So, and eventually I ended up working for the Bank Golf Club, and I was there for 28 years, and retired over a year ago, a year and a half, a year ago, wasn't it? And the thing here was that I was not early enough in the day, because I started at 5:36, and I could get done at 1 to 2 o'clock, come out here and things to get fixed or repaired or whatever. You know, and Joanne mentioned about the groups that were here. You know, a number of those groups still come out here before we were here. And there's the Baptist group was before we were here. The fourth graders from Waseca was here before we were here. And the YMCA was here. And the 4-H, which is not here any longer, but 4-H was here. So there were groups that have been here for a long time. The use of the camp.
It was, we started out with the 4-H and then the Y would come, or the fourth graders, I'm sorry. We have about 4 weeks of 4-H. At one time we had Girl Scouts, we had a Mormon group in the cities the first couple of years. The MSU band camp, Clinton Teedy's wonderful camp would come here for many years, and that was one of the more fun. It was just a lovely week of music just floating through the air. The neighbors loved it as well. That was a good group. And then Celebrate Me came.
And Al Workman came out with the Yellow Street Singers.
He came in the fall. Yeah.
And they were always here. They found out the first year, actually, they were out here on my birthday. So the first year they came up and sang Happy Birthday. And every year after that, Al and his Yellow Street Singers
We
sang.
had cake and ice cream and great music. Yeah, that was wonderful. Yeah. The state hospital would come with their non-ambulatory and ambulatory residents. And for some of these residents, it was the only time they'd be off the campus of the state hospital. So it was just a joyful week for them. A lot of week for the staff. It was an enormous undertaking to get them out here and care for them. And but they had lots of wonderful recreational activities planned. I was always struck by the gentleness and how respectfully all the staff used to care for the residents who were here during that week. No, it's been an incredible.
And for them, the staff, really, it was a break for them just to get out of the confines of the hospital, the state hospital. And of course, funds got cut. They usually don't look at things like that. Let's cut those. We got to cut someplace, And unfortunately, it stopped. And the fourth graders that we were talking about from Waseca, last year I remember a third generation fourth grader out here, and I'm sure there's been more of those, but that's kind of neat.
Very telling. Yeah, it is incredible. They'd have the kids come over for one overnight, and then the bus would come in with new recruits. And they'd get all of the fourth graders in town. And it was funded by fundraisers that the parents and the kids would hold during the year. But they're very committed to it, and it's still. They set up, actually they took kids fishing and taught them how to fish. At one time they had a lab down at the lake for like kind of a science laboratory, and they just do so many things. And they always had archery, teaching the kids archery, and now they have big animals, stuffed animals up there, bears and whatever, and that's what they use instead of just a target, And what happened was that they also were helped, the funding
from the state also, and that same time, they cut the funding and they said they couldn't do it anymore. Well, the parents would have nothing to do with it. I remember talking with one of them, and the cost for them, and this was probably 10 years ago, the cost for them was around $9,000. But then buses and bus drivers and getting staff to take the teacher's place, you know, and the food and things like that. And they said, we can't do the program anymore. And since they've raised the money through fundraisers to come out here with the fourth graders and still do. So it's a great, you have to see all of these groups, you have to see what actually happens out here. It's amazing with these kids. 90% of these kids would never experience anything like this.
All right. Are you there, Mike?
I am here. Yep.
All right, good. Okay, I'm going to share again, and we're going to go back to.
And I don't know, for me that the video was kind of choppy. If it was
Okay.
for anybody else, please let me know. I can share the link and you can watch it at home on your own computer.
All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Shannon. He's going to talk a little bit about what's going on at camp. But first, before we do that, I want you to mention how much we charge per week per camper, because I think it's pretty phenomenal. We charge a fee to the different organizations, and then they in turn add on whatever they need to produce the camp. And so in the end, most kids for a week-long camp, they are charged between $350 and $500 by that organization that runs the camp. But I've done some research, and there is a northern Minnesota camp that is very similar to ours, except for that it is run by a particular organization the whole time, that they pay $1,500 a week.
Right.
So even though $350 to $500 sounds like a lot, it's really economical. And part of that is because of we do charge the lowest fee we possibly can for the camp, and that is?
Yeah, and what we charge for the long term, the 7-day camps or full week camps is $63 a person. So that's what we charge to, let's say, the YMCA or Celebrate Me, $63 per camper, and that's for that time period. So they're passing that cost on or absorbing it, paying us, but then they're figuring out their overhead, the cooks, the supplies, the counselors, everything like that. So it's a really good deal. And plus, they also try to keep money back. So we require all the camps to put a focus on scholarshiping kids that can't pay that $300 to $550 charge, whatever the camp is charging. So Celebrate Me, YMCA, the other camps, they scholarship some of the kids too. So if they can't even afford to pay the lower rate we already have, they will pay for it for them or do some kind of sliding scale. So we try, the cost thing is huge for us, and that's because in that original statement with H.A. Patterson giving us the camp for disadvantaged youth, in our minds, that means people that can't afford to get that experience normally. And we want all the kids that can possibly get out there to be out there, no matter whether they can afford it or not. We want them out there. So did you want me to talk about what's going on this summer?
There's some work being done out there this summer because we did have to close because of COVID-19, and that was very typical for camps. So it was a very hard decision for us to make, but
I think we made that decision in end of April to close the camp. We announced it, and then we've kind of just been going full blast. Shannon Gullickson will talk a little bit more about the fundraising and that stuff later, but what we decided to do is no matter what, because we hadn't started fundraising yet in April when we decided to close the camp, and I let all the camps know, and I've been talking to all their camp directors and the YMCA and that kind of thing, is we thought, well, what can we get done this summer no matter what? What can we get done? Our budget is a little bit messed up because we don't have any camps out there and we don't have anybody paying any fees out there. But what can we do so we don't waste the summer? We've got a whole summer in the almost 100-year history of this camp, to my knowledge and Shannon's knowledge. I don't think there's ever been a summer there's never been campers. So we didn't want to waste this summer. So a couple of things happened right away. Well, right away, a few members of our committee in our club did some landscaping out there under the direction of club member Stan Bruss. We put some rock down in front of all the cabins. We planted hostas right away, socially distanced, of course, just small groups of volunteers. We thought, okay, that's a great project. We did that. And then John Swenson, a club member, got out there and really kind of went to town on some things. We went through all the 10 cabins and took a look at them. And if you look at this picture here, this is Tyler Moss. He's going to be a sophomore at Gustavus. John Swenson actually scholarshiped him to work out there all summer. He basically paid Tyler out of his own pocket to work out there every day this summer, to paint, to do whatever we need him to do, landscape, that type of thing. And then a couple weeks later, Phil Sinsby, another club member, did the same thing, scholarshiped another college-age kid who couldn't find a job this summer to spend his whole summer out there also. So in this picture, you see Tyler Moss painting. We went a little bit lighter color. We've been painting all the 10 cabins, even the other 3 up in front. Those screens that you saw on there, those have been removed. Right there, the brown thing, those came off. They were kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a screen. There's a thick screen underneath it. We removed all of that. There's brand new windows going in, 10 cabins with 11 windows per cabin going in tomorrow and all next week, brand new windows. And you can see in here, all of the inside we had painted white, everything spray painted with a spray gun, and the brown on the floor with the new paint on the outside. If you look at the front here, we had ISG to come out. ISG has been very helpful with us with the fundraising campaign and the plans and things we want to do for the expansion renovation. These are all things I'm talking about now that aren't in that plan. These are just maintenance we needed to do. If you look at that, ISG determined that all the doors needed to come off. They weren't up to code. They needed to swing the other way. We needed new doors. All the steps needed to come off and be replaced with a platform with steps. Those weren't up to code. So we've been doing a ton of stuff this summer. And I'm trying to think, even the trail that Shannon was talking about, that wooded area, there's a few acres of woods. There used to be trails out there back when I went to YMCA camp in 5th grade, which was, 30 plus years ago. There haven't been trails out there forever. We actually donated, one of our pet projects at Kiwanis Club is the Mankato Recreation, or the Kiwanis Recreation Area on 169 by Happy Chef, which people call the dog park. That's a great partnership between us, the city of Mankato, and the Mankato Mountain Bikers Association. And a few years in a row, we've donated money to the Mankato Mountain Bikers Association for the trails they built out there. But we also bought them a brush trimmer, a brush hog, a few years ago. Well, they're gracious enough now to let us use that to have Nate Starkey and Missy Starkey and some volunteers put those trails, trim them back in, and we're going to get wood chips from Patrick Pfeffer, who did some tree trimming for us earlier in the year. He's going to be dumping loads of wood chips out there. So we're going to recreate those trails this summer in a little bit better formation than they used to have them. I'm trying to think, am I forgetting anything else that's kind of, we've reseeded, put new seed for grass out there, done a lot of weed maintenance. I'm trying to think what else. The beach has been really redone. There's one cabin where the deck was kind of coming off. We've removed that. We're going to be doing a different, not a deck on this one. We're going to actually just be changing the way the doors are set up to make it up to fire code. Just a lot of everything that we can find that has an issue that we can fix this summer. We're trying to do it this summer while there are no kids out there. Because typically, during Minnesota summers when you have the construction season, typically we're not able to do much out there. So this summer, because of COVID-19, we're trying to do as many things as possible, even before we do the campaign we talk about with the expansion of the camp.
And so I wanted to show a couple pictures here. This is Nate Starkey. This is also Nate and Al. Al got in a skid loader, and they were bringing some dirt in this area that was really low by the ball fields. So it was always retaining water, and we had some water trouble out there. So just simple things like that. And then also I wanted to back up. This is a cute picture of the Starkey kids. These are there's you probably can't see it right now, but all 3 children have been getting involved in painting and helping. And there's Tyler again working away. And then, this was a re-roofing project actually last fall that was done by a bunch of Kiwanis volunteers. And just, they're not all Kiwanians either. They brought their friends out and donated labor and materials and things. So we're really lucky to have a lot of donations of materials and labor, but we also have a lot of expenses associated with the things that we're doing out there this year. But again, when else can we take advantage of it? So we're making lemonade out of lemons, I call it. But we also, at the same time, we're starting a capital campaign for future improvements. And so we again, we want to expand the camp so that we can accommodate more campers. Even though we have 2,600 campers a year, there are campers that are definitely being turned away. And in the case of Celebrate Me, if they're turned away, they never have an opportunity to come back because their curriculum is specifically for those kids going into 7th grade. And so we did want to start this campaign, and we just wanted to share a little bit about it. We call it the Next Generation campaign because we want camp to be there for the next generation and more. So there have probably been 4 generations out at Kiwanis Camp Patterson, but we want it to be there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years or generations. And so I'm going back again to the website. I just want to go back to. Nope, that's not it. Sorry about that. I hope you guys understand my technical difficulties here.
One thing I want to just touch on, expand on a little bit is other parts of that video. Al mentioned that he was working full-time, mostly at the Mankato Golf Club while they were running the camps, which left Joanne with her family there until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And she told one story about there being a broken pipe of some sort, and she was literally knee deep in the when's Al going to be back so they can get this fixed? And Joanne said, well, give me about an hour and I'll have it done for you, and you'll be able to make dinner like you had originally planned. So it was really a partnership between those two and their kids that made things work for 39 years.
Thank you for filling some time for us, Mike. I appreciate it. Clarifying. So I do want to talk about our Next Generation campaign and tell you a little bit about it. Let's take a second here. So we have some funding goals for 6 additional cabins. Was it 5 now or is it 6? 6, yeah, sorry. Getting back here. There we go. So anyway, 6 additional cabins, also a new restroom and shower building. So an additional restroom and shower building that will be, first of all, it's newer. And so the other one, it was built in 1969, I believe. It's still functioning, but it would be really nice for us to have a separate facility so that one could be cleaned while the other one is being used. And also so that maybe some counselors, if they want to have adult time, there are more and more regulations about children and adults being together in different types of facilities. And so there may be a time when they want to secure one of the buildings just for counselor use and adult use, and then have the other one open for the kids to be using. There's a lot of reasons why a second facility is important. The next phase is the dining hall and storm shelter addition. So we'd like to increase the size of the dining hall by 50%. And then again, add that storm shelter down below in the basement. And that's really important. I was out there last year during a tornado warning, and it was full in that storm shelter. First of all, really lucky to have that, but it was full with kids just simply standing. There wasn't a place to sit down. There was no room to sit down. And so that's really important. And then the third phase is we can build our 6 additional cabins. We can't build those cabins until we have the restroom facility and the dining hall facility and storm shelter for those kids. And so the 6 additional cabins, and then also we want to have about $400,000 for future maintenance, because we're really learning how important it is to continue to maintain all of these structures. The cabins that Shannon was talking about, I was reading today that they were built in 1985. And to me, that doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was 35 years ago. And so it's great that we're able to keep those going and maintain those. But if we don't have that money, things can deteriorate quite quickly. Another thing is the dining hall is going to be air conditioned and insulated. And our plan for that is it gets really hot out there. As you know, the temperatures are increasing every year up in Minnesota due to global warming. And also there are just times when it is too hot, there's no wind, and there is really no place for the kids to go just for some respite. So we do think that that isn't a luxury, it's actually a necessity when heat gets to be in really dangerous temperatures. And then we also have some different levels that we're recognizing our donors from $500 all the way up to $250,000. We have asked our club members to donate, and we have a lot of club members that are participating. We're also writing a lot of grants, different organizations, but we will be needing to go to the public to help us. Really, this is a 1.5 million is a lot when it comes to capital campaigns, but it is a substantial amount of money for us to raise. And we are really determined to make this a great camp for even more campers. And so you'll see here, there's a brochure and there's a donor form right on the website too. Do you have anything to add about that?
Well, we found out a lot of interesting things during the switchover with caretaker switchover and the co-chairs of Matt Carney and I for Dave Cowan, but also the fundraising. When we've talked to our camps, like Celebrate Me, when we're talking about the air conditioning, we found out when we were presenting to them kind of as partners in this plan to raise money, a few years ago, kind of back when it was really hot and humid, I don't know what year it was, they ended up because, some of the electrical circuitry out there isn't the greatest, and we don't have an air conditioner except for in the basement of the dining hall. During those really hot, humid time periods, there was a year where they rented a bus from the St. Peter's School District or had it donated. They actually took the kids to St. Peter's School, put them up in the air-conditioned gymnasium for 2 nights, and then brought them back because the lake water is so warm, it doesn't help to go cool off there, and there's just not enough of a spot for 100 and whatever kids that are out there to actually cool off. So it's interesting when we're doing all this work on this campaign and the remodeling and hopefully expansion, that we're learning even more about our camps than we ever have and what their issues really are. Another one would be, we've never really been very excited about having Wi-Fi out there. Our kids don't have their cell phones, so why would we need Wi-Fi? Well, we found out with Celebrate Me that the counselors, the big thing about their camp and the way it's grown so quickly over the last decade is that their counselors post videos of the things they do in the tent, kind of their mentoring, all the coming of age kind of stuff, and the parents love it. But the problem is it's really hard for the camp counselors to post videos from their cell phones out there because there's no Wi-Fi and the cell service is bad. So we do have the whole place wired now through Jaguar. That is new, and Nate needed that as he works for Verizon out there and he works from home, Nate Starkey. But in our minds, we're always thinking, well, we don't want these kids to have cell phones. This is a rustic camp experience. But from the camp's perspective, it helps them to market the camp, to keep in touch with parents, with counselors, keep posting videos and pictures, and that's perfectly okay. It's great. We just need to understand why they need things and what makes sense to them. Where we're thinking from our lens and they're looking at it through their lens. So this whole process has been great for both sides, really. I would say. That's all I've got.
I think this is a good time to ask if anyone has a story to share or a question. One of the things that it's great to be able to share information about Kiwanis Camp Patterson because it's always been in secret in our community. And one of our goals is simply to make people aware of the facility, and the number of people that are being involved as volunteers is growing substantially this year. And but we'd love to hear from you and have you help us share our story also.
Is Victoria still with us? I was wondering if she had any stories from her campfire days.
Well, I remember we had an arts and crafts building. Is that still in existence?
It is. It's called the Rec Hall, and it's one of the older buildings. It's right down closer to the lake, and that's probably where you were. And down below, that's where they store the boats and the canoes and things. Is that what you're remembering?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They kept the canoes in there and the life vests and all of that stuff. But we would go down there, and that's where I don't know if it was when it was too hot, but we put on skits and we'd sing, and we also did arts and crafts in there.
I think that that was used a lot for arts and crafts when the old dining hall was in existence, which was much smaller. And I don't have any pictures of it, but it burned down in the 80s. There was a gas malfunction, I think. And so when they rebuilt that facility, they put a basement under it, which it didn't have before. Again, storm shelter, and they also have some pool tables down there. But a lot of the activities now, because the camps are so much larger, they've been done either in the dining hall, again, because it's bigger than that rec hall or craft area. And also Celebrate Me brings their own tent out because actually they need a bigger space. And so they have a tent over by the ball fields for that type of, like we said, they have structured events, especially in the evening.
And
Well, then I have another question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's your question?
A couple of years ago, and might be longer, there was someone injured by walking across the fire pit. And then at that time, I think somebody came in and they said no more fires. Do they do the bonfires anymore?
Yes, I was part of Camp Patterson Inc. back then. It was a young youngster tripped over his shoelaces. I don't think they were tied at the time, but he fell into the fire pit and was injured. And so the changes made, they still can have fires, which is good. They just had to remove some of the benches that were closer to the fire pit. So not that would necessarily prevent someone from tripping into it, but they still have their fires. That's still a really big part of it. But it is, the fire ring is farther away from where everyone is seated.
Right.
And I think that's the only injury that I'm aware of, which is good. I mean, it's a rustic camp, and we're thrilled that everyone has been, really safe throughout the years.
And just like how our camp organizations have changed over the decades, which is kind of a neat thing about Camp Patterson, we keep changing with the times. Our partnerships keep changing with the times. I mean, you talked about where they store the canoes and that type of thing. I don't think we have too many canoes there anymore. We have just one or two canoes.
Kayaks are really
now we're all kayaks, all stand-up paddleboards, and we have a great partnership with Shields in Mankato. Shields has either provided us discounts or for free the kayaks, stand-up paddleboards. Phil Slingsby, who is the longtime manager there, has bought them at cost himself and donated them. And they would like to have people that work in their archery department come out and work with the camp starting next year on archery at the Kearney Archery Range. So for us, it's always partnerships, kind of like Kiwanis Holiday Lights, which Shannon is on the executive board of that organization also. The more people we can be in contact with that have something that they would love to help share their time, talent, treasure with us, we'd love to make that connection. That's important to us. It's not just about monetary giving, it's about relationships, partnerships, getting people out there. If any of you would ever like to go out there and take a tour with Shannon or I or the Starkeys, would be happy to do that. So.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Oh, this is Mike. One thing I wanted to ask is if you could tell us about when the Kiwanis members went out there a couple of Fridays ago, John Swenson talked about the kitchen and the way things are going to be changed there and how the information was gathered by talking to the cooks from the camps that have been out there in the past.
Yeah, John Swenson, who's been heading up a lot of the activity out there this summer, his wife Karen was a long time, worked for some county in inspecting the kitchens. And so she had some concerns about our kitchen, and that wasn't initially part of what we were going to completely redo, but they actually, Karen and John Swenson and the Starkeys had Celebrate Me, the person in charge of their meals, and the YMCA, the person in charge of their meals, come out there on a day and tell them, how do you use this kitchen? Because the way the camps have used the kitchen now is completely different than they used to use it 30 years ago, 40 years ago, even 10 years ago.
Just like school lunches.
Just like school lunches. It's all changed. So they had a lot of good feedback from those two larger camps, and I think they've reached out to the smaller camps also. But we wanted to get an idea, if we're going to redo this kitchen, really get it to where it needs to be code-wise, what are we looking at doing? Is it something, a different setup? And the setup is going to be different. And it's just interesting how everything about camping, I mean, Camp Patterson has always been the same, and as far as it's in the same location, it's a rustic camp, but it's amazing how kids keep changing, the camps keep changing, food changes, everything just keeps changing. And at Kiwanis, we're trying to hold on to that tradition, but at the same time, keep the camp relevant so that these users want to use it, would be the way I would describe it. Any other questions at all, or?
I think one thing that I'd like to add is, first of all, any of you are welcome to join us as a guest at Kiwanis. We meet on Mondays at noon, and right now we're meeting virtually by Zoom. So we can bring you in and send you a Zoom invite if you would like to come as a guest. And then when we're able to meet again in person, we meet and we have a great lunch and a great meeting, and we invite guests to join us at no charge. So we would be happy to invite you to one of those meetings when those happen too. And then the other thing is that we've had some great pictures on Facebook. If you want to follow the work that's being done out there, every few days there are pictures posted on Facebook of the work that's going on. We also have some on Instagram if you're into that. And then also the website that I shared a little bit of information with you, but there's really some great resources on that website and some old pictures and just more information about the camp. So feel free to, again, take a look at any of those electronic venues. And if someone wants a brochure, we have a great printed brochures on the campaign, and we'd be happy to drop some of those off. Probably, maybe at Vine if we're able to do that with Mike. So anything that you can do to help us spread the word about the camp, or volunteer at the camp, or create a financial legacy at the camp, we really would appreciate it.
All right, any other questions from anybody? Come on, Mary, you've got to have something. Mary Murdesdorf.
Oh, well, just a minute. I guess I did unmute. Yeah, I was a Campfire Girl counselor in 1968 out there at Camp Patterson. And so I do have some fond memories of it. Enjoyed my time there, and except that was the year that there was a tornado that went through Tracy, and I ended up with a whole cabin full of Tracy girls. And it happened to be a week that was very stormy. And when you talked about going to the storm shelter, trying to get these girls to the storm shelter and to calm down because they were just very upset about the whole thing. I think I had at least one night that I didn't sleep almost all night because somebody was so upset. That was one big memory I have there, but I did enjoy the whole time we were out there. It was
Great, thank you. All right, well, if there's not anything else, I'd like to thank Shannon and Shannon for joining us today and making this presentation. And like I say, if any of you would like to get the link to the video, for me, the star keys were a little bit in and out. If you'd like to see that, I can get you the direct link to that and you can watch that. Otherwise, we will be sharing this on the virtual Vine page. So please feel free to invite your friends who might be interested, or husbands who didn't get a chance to see it today, to come and do that, because we would love to get the word out about what's happening at Kiwanis Camp Patterson.
And we really were hoping to have a large event out there to show people the camp this summer. That's not in the cards because of COVID-19, but we are willing to take small groups out or meet you out at camp to show you the work that's being done at camp. So if anyone's interested in that, let us know, and we would be happy, or let Mike know because he knows how to reach us.
Yep.
We'd be happy to take you out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you guys for coming and presenting, and all of our folks for attending as well. Thank you, and we'll see you at the next one. We've got our first author series program coming up this coming Monday. Thomas Maltman will be here, and we've still got our computer university on Monday evening too. So plenty of room to sign up for that one. Also done virtually, but by the Mankato computer technology guys. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.